I looked over my title earlier on in the email that I sent you, and I thought it was rubbish.
I did sort of read that, and I thought, like, is this meant to be the title? Oh, right.
Yeah. I'm not feeling judged, Luke, but I am feeling judged. Welcome and hello to We're Not Wizards. My name's Richard and I'll be your host this evening. Now joining me tonight, and you might have already heard him in the background because at the moment I'm not sure if I'm going to include that front bit at the front or just leave it in or take it out. We have no idea. But tonight's episode is going to be called If It Ain't Broken, Meeple, Don't Fix It, Meeple. And I know why it's called that. And you will know why it's called that. And because joining me tonight is Luke Hector from the Broken Meeple. So, hello, Mr. Hector. How are you?
Hello, doing fine, thank you.
That's very good. I wholeheartedly apologise for that title because it still it still sounds dreadful. I was just like that. How could I write? You would think having something like the Broken Meeple, it would be the easiest thing to make up some kind of smart aleck title, but it just goes to show me that you're that I think you need to change the name of your channel so I can come up with a better title, basically. But
it was a spur of the moment thing that made me think of it in the first place, and even then it wasn't exactly what I would call a great title at the time. It's just like, oh yeah, that'll do, because everybody else has already taken all the good names.
Is it like that point where you're like kind of like with domain names kind of thing? Where you're looking for or hairdressers. That's another one, because you get like kind of Shut Up and Die and, you know, A Cut Above the Rest, and some of them just call themselves scissors, but they're just, you know, kind of dull and boring.
Too many at the moment. All the really good names have been taken by various ones. You know, you got like, you know, Roll Dice and taking names. You've got, you know, the Dice Tower and that. You've various, you know, Two Can Play That Game and Who Dares Rolls, and, you know, some of the local ones that I know, and it's, you know, it's like that. You've taken all the good names. It's like, what am I supposed to use?
Because the reason that we've got Luke on tonight is quite simple, because I don't know, I wanted to speak to somebody else that was kind of in my shoes so we could have a good old chatter and we could maybe talk a little bit of shop. And we're certainly going to talk an awful lot about Luke and how he got into the hobby, and obviously how the Broken Meeple came about. If you're listening to this for the first time and wondering what the hell is going on, the simple fact is that there's two reasons why we do this. The first reason is that we just quite simply not enough podcasts out there about board games. We've checked and just none. And as I say, the second reason that we want to do this is sometimes it's nice to go out and grab somebody that kind of can show you a bit of solidarity when it comes to recording types of podcasts, which is why we kind of had Luke kind of invited kind of Luke on. And it's just another sign of the kind of the wonderful thing that is the board game kind of community. But anyway, enough about me waffling on. This evening, as Colin would say, it's your night, Luke. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a little dip back into the past, we're going to have a little look-see at the present, and then we're going to have a little jaunt into the future, just to find out, you know, a couple of things, a little bit more about you. First of all, thanks, as I say, thanks for coming on, but tell us a little bit about your history with the hobby, Mr. Hector.
You have been warned. Is all I can say to everybody else out there.
I've got a coffee, I've got a couple of biscuits here. You know, if you just... You just do your thing.
You're more classy then, because I'm actually, funny enough, we were talking about the expo earlier. I'm still sipping a can of Iron Brew.
Do you get? Of course you get Iron Brew. I mean, okay, that's one of these things. About 25 years ago, you would always struggle to get a can of Iron Brew in down in England. And now, obviously, you get it.
I thought it was non-existent down in the south, but I've seen it in stores local, big Asda stores, so it is available. But we ended up with so much on the Dice Tower booth because everybody bought Iron Brew for the guys to try. It's like, oh, this new drink, you've never heard of it. And yeah, funny enough, they haven't, but we ended up with so much. And you can't take drinks, on a plane above a certain limit, but you can't take soda at all because it explodes.
Just goes in boom. So, okay, so just a quick side before you got into the hobby. When was the first time you tried Iron Brew?
That would be my aunt and uncle from up north. They most of my relatives. It's quite a small family now, but there's two relatives of mine up in Northumbria, and they are obsessed with Iron Brew. Every time I've been round there, they've got it in bottles. They're always trying to feed me it and stuff like that. And basically, any time I visited them, whenever it was when I was young, that would have been like, what on earth is this stuff? And it's like, I don't know if it's orange or or what flavour at all. It's like, this is a weird thing that you can't pinpoint its flavour. It's a bit like Dr. Pepper. It's like you drink it and you don't realise what it is.
Yeah, it's hard. You have to kind of experience it. I don't even think it's like Dr. Pepper, because you can just say, well, Dr. Pepper's like really kind of sweet cherry Coke mixed with like Parma violets a bit, whereas Iron Brew is just kind of like, it's kind of like, it has got iron in it, which always used to be the big claim. But up in Scotland, what they used to do is they used to sell them in the chip shop, and they used to sell them in glass bottles. And then what used to happen is you used to get the glass bottles, and then you could take them back to the shop and you get money for them. I mean, this was long before we decided that we needed to make everything out of plastic and have it hanging around for the next couple of 100 million years. But that's what you used to do. So kids used to actually go about searching for glass bottles of Iron Brew, empty ones, that they could then wash a bit, and then they could then take back to the shop and trade it in for 1 pence and halfpence sweets. There you go. There's a slice. There's a slice of history for you.
Of a long forgotten time.
Of a long forgotten time. So, do you get your Iron Brew regularly then? I mean, do you have a supplier that you go to?
No, literally, I've just got a few cans of sugar-free Iron Brew at the moment, just because we had the bunch at the expo, and it's like, you know what? They can't take it with them, so yoink.
Did you just?
No, they offered it out. In fact,
that's okay then.
In fact, I think Sam Healy even stuck a big 2-litre bottle in my bag without me realising, because I was carrying it around. It was like, this is a bit heavier than I thought, and it's like, and he snuck a bottle in there.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I mean, obviously, Iron Brew's nostalgia, but how did you get into the hobby? I mean, what kind of got you into the land of cardboard?
It's always been something that I've done through most of the life from a kid perspective. Certainly like the mainstream stuff with the family. I mean, that's usually everybody's first inkling in their life that they've ever played a board game ever. But my tastes have changed a lot over time, where it's like, first we'll start with mainstream board games, then I get into little trading card games like Alien Predator and Star Wars Decipher, and then it migrated to Warhammer, and then it became Magic the Gathering and RPG. So it's gone through pretty much every realm of geekdom there is. But it's just constantly changed. Board games didn't really come back until about 4 years ago, when I got to the point in my life where it's like, right, well, I've got me house, at the time, a flat, and I've got my job, and there's only so many people I know around in Portsmouth. I need to meet new people. What did I used to enjoy? And it was just a case of, let's have a look on meetup.com, find out what clubs are in the area, and I saw the board game club Portsmouth on Board, which I now run, or co-run at least.
Yeah.
And I just thought, oh yeah, I used to like those, but I don't know much about what's out now. I don't know, let's go and see. It looks like a laugh. Went there and then was hooked ever since, to the point of just being obsessed.
How do you remember? You obviously then started to buy board games. So do you remember the kind of the first couple that grew and helped grow your collection?
The first couple, I mean, one of the first games I owned would have been Citadels, because I know that I probably had a copy of that sort of during my university years, like the one card game I had. I just kind of latched onto it. After that, I think there would have been a couple of games that I'd played that night that I started with. I mean, the first game I think I played that made me realise, wow, board games have come a long way, was Seven Wonders. had a 7-player game. They taught me it. I'd never seen a board game for God knows how many years, even though I was a proper geek anyway.
Yeah.
And they were teaching it with leaders as well. So yeah, talk about throwing in the deep end. But I just thought, same way I learn every game. I just pick a route, pick a path, stick to it, don't deviate, even if it's completely wrong, see what happens. And end up winning anyway. So, but
well, that's a good introduction. You can imagine how things might have gone if you'd lost horribly that night.
I'm not a sore loser. I don't mind it if I lose a game as long as I enjoyed it. And I did enjoy the 7-player thing, but it was just that I know I'd not seen drafting, not outside of a Magic the Gathering thing. I'd not seen all this card tableau thing, all this iconography. And it's like, what has happened to board games now? This is a bit different from Hero Quest, which was like more childhood related. And then the collection, I think, just completely spiraled out of control because it started off with like, I'll just get a few games. Here's some co-ops. Here's some theme stuff that I like. And then it just went completely nuts where it's like I had a bit of disposable cash. Living alone in a new build flat with an accountancy job kind of meant, yeah, you know what? I'm not spending a lot of cash by games.
I take it it's easy to kind of justify the figures, I guess, to yourself as well because you can add them up precisely.
I don't want to know how much I might have spent on games in my life, but building up, what did I have? I think I had a 4x4 or a 5x5 Kallax. Well, whatever they were called, expedite shelves at the time. And that was just slowly filling up, and then it got to the point where it's like, yikes, things are going on top, and then, oh my god, it's now migrating to other shelves in the same room. And now the game room I've made in my house is two, I think, 4x4s or two, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, two 4x4s, and they're right next to each other, and the stuff's still on top of that, and I'm sort of thinking, oh god, I'm running out of space again.
So are those Kallaxes as well?
Oh yeah, I wouldn't have it up. I mean, the Billy bookcases weren't bad, but I just think Kallax was pretty much designed for board gamers. They're just perfectly sized for most board games, unless the publisher wants to decide to do something crafty and unique or something, and then usually blows up in their face when they do it.
I do, of course. You realise that this is what Nigel Kennington was talking about when he was on talking about Carcosa, and he kept talking Kallaxes all the time. So I do have to say that other shelving units are available, terms and conditions on request.
Yeah, we have to be balanced.
You have to be balanced. You have to be impartial kind of things. One of the things I noticed is you talk an awful lot of stuff about the Euro. Am I correct in saying that? Or
a lot of people think I don't like Euros
because
I'm very big on theme. So they think, all right, theme, you mean Ameritrash then? And it's like, well, no, not quite. I don't want too much randomness in my game. I like a little bit, but Euros have usually two very distinct types. You've got the thematic ones, which I love, and they're on my shelf, things like viticulture and stuff like that. Great theme, great setting, and I'll love that Euro. But what I tend to have a problem with is the ones that I like to call super dry, which is essentially, here's a game of mechanics, and that's it.
Yeah,
nothing else. No theme to set it with, or if it does have a theme, it's either a boring one like trading in the Mediterranean, or the theme is non-existent and is basically just point salad. So they come up a lot in discussion, but no, I mean, I think I've got a balanced set of games on that shelf. Everything from a Euro to co-op to gateway to heavy to medium light. To dice chuckers, to miniature games. There's quite to party games even. Yeah, there's a good varied amount.
How do you organise your shelves? I mean, do you just have everything kind of up there, or have you organised them into genres? Have you organised them into sections? Is it like becoming like a good old record collection? Where you've alphabetized it kind of thing? Or?
No, I tried. I did try it first.
Really?
Not like alphabetized. No, God, no, not that far. But I mean, in the original shelf ad in the flat was not organised at all. Yeah. This one, I tried to do it by publisher. I tried to think, right, well, I'll stick all the Fantasy Flight stuff first, and I'll do this. And I mean, I didn't do it alphabetically. I just thought, right, there's Fantasy Flights, there's AEGs, there's Bezier, that kind of thing. But even that is starting to spiral out of control, because the problem is I'm at a stage now with review copies and buying games myself that unless I'm going to add more shelves on, and I'm paranoid as to how much weight a concrete floor can take when you're upstairs. But because I always think like, oh, I could add another 2x4 calyx on top or something, and it's like, how much weight does a first
Other
floor
shelving
take?
units are available. Terms and conditions on request.
I'm expecting to get like some like big shipping.
You just say the K word, yeah. Don't keep saying that, because it's like we have to say that you can get other shelving units from other, or you can use, I guess, storage boxes under the bed. I mean, that's always a good thing. But I'm probably looking out for the BBC Portsmouth. You can build your own custom one. BBC Portsmouth kind of covering a story to say that you know one man was injured and one woman escaped injury when three K-word shelving units crashed through from upstairs. And there's just you sitting in a pile of like dust, cards and dice, just going...
Well, no woman involved. It would literally just be sort of me upstairs staring from the floor into what would be my kitchen if that floor did cave in, with a bunch of games everywhere, thinking it was just another 2x4 squares. Seriously.
And it would have been the smallest thing ever. It would have been like a little expansion deck that you got for like Vikings Gone Wild or something like that. That's basically like...
This was just a little mini promo. It was a promo card.
Exactly.
I just shoved it in the box.
Exactly.
That was enough for a concrete floor.
You backed Michael Mays 2 Can Play This Game Kickstarter, so you've got the Vikings Gone Wild 2 promo cards, and you're just reaching over and just going, I'll just put these here.
I really don't know how much weight that the floors are meant to take. I mean, like I say, this is just me being paranoid because I know nothing about architectural construction. But I just had to put like a TV on the wall with a soundbar thing because I wanted it for not just like YouTube things, but I also wanted to port tablet stuff up there. Like it was like Mansions of Madness and stuff, and that's worked out well now. But I was so paranoid about... This is an internal wall, it's a plaster, how much weight can I put on there? And it took me ages before I could decide, you know what, I'm going to get this TV and soundbar, because I was just expecting that the second I got anyone to put up, it would just like tear the wall down.
You just walk past it and go, achoo! And it's...
It is. I'm really not a DIY expert. I when I left home, there were 3 life skills you needed to know. You needed to know how to clean, you needed to know how to cook, and you needed to know DIY. I chose to learn them in a specific order, and which meant that cooking was my trick, my perk. The skill I know. Cleaning was the next best thing. I can keep the place in good nick, and it's why DIY I know nothing about. So. That just got basically left behind.
Just no more nails. Everything.
I think Gorilla Glue has become my new best friend, I think, at the moment.
Just stick it... I've chipped that plate. Gorilla Glue.
It's more actually just like, the odd sort of wood chip stuff like happens, but I'm also putting together quite a lot of insert and boxes at the moment that I've bought, and Gorilla Wood Glue seems to be doing the trick.
Just gonna be, you're gonna end up kind of selling it. It's gonna end up being the Broken Meeple as sponsored by Gorilla Glue. Other glue is available, by the way. Just
official sponsors of the Broken Meeple: Kallax Shelving, Gorilla Glue.
Right, what are you gonna say next? Oh, Tetley's. We might as well jump in. Kind of sponsored by Asmodee. Check games.
Here's hope. Oh god, yeah, I wish.
Oh, you imagine that would be kind of cool. But I guess that's the... I mean, what's kind of floating your boat at the moment, apart obviously from Gorilla Glue and Kallax Shelving? Welcome to We're Not DIYers.
Welcome to Ground Force board gaming edition.
Yeah, exactly. That's all right. Okay, you're just being the clever because you're coming up with a better name than me. I knew this would happen. Bring on somebody that's... bring on Luke Hector. He'll be a lot of laugh. No, he won't. He'll show me up for just the unprofessional person that I am. But anyway, what is kind of... Because you do... For anyone that hasn't listened, I mean, Luke does... Luke does reviews because you've got the blog, which you write stuff for. You obviously mention stuff that you've played on the podcast that you have as well. So it's a mixture between... You get a mixture between stuff that I take it that you're reviewing and stuff that you've actually buying yourself. So in terms of stuff you've bought yourself, is what's kind of like excited you at the moment?
At the moment, it's a fair mix between what I buy and what I get review copies for. I mean, people say that, oh, I get jealous that you get these copies in. It's like, it's not like they're flooding through my doors like every second. You know, it's not the Dice Tower. It's just like the occasional copy comes through. The rest I buy with my own cash. But at the moment, the biggest thing that I've bought recently was I got it delivered by First Amiibos at the Expo, and it was the deluxe expansion for the Takinoko, because if you know that Matigo did that giant set with the humongous like panda and tiles and that, I've had that for a while, since about 2015 Essen, because one, I love the game, but two, when some friends of mine do like events down here, like social events for Dice Portsmouth and that, I usually bring Deluxe Takinoko as a centerpiece. You know, it's easy to teach to new people who turn up, but it's also looks the business.
Yeah, it's amazing looking.
Well, I've been waiting ages for the Chibi's expansion to get put into deluxe form, because I've only got it in my small game, and then it's like, oh, it was on the site, buy it, instant. And now that's got me excited, because I've opened up that box and just gone, yes, more giant stuff. No longer does the female panda have to sit in awe of this giant monstrosity before her.
Fantastic.
I can't wait to get both of them on a table at another Buy Sports event. Just like, the one thing when you've played Takinoko is that you think this panda needs to be considerably bigger.
Yes, absolutely. Especially the size of the bamboo.
It's literally, I'm planting my own forest with that stuff. You know, I could pretty much decorate my garden with the contents of that box.
What about review stuff? I mean, obviously there's been stuff that you've probably reviewed recently. Was there any kind of nice surprises that kind of came through for you?
One game, Cool Mini or Not, has hit it out of the park with recently was Ethnos. That one has so far taken my only 10 out of 10 for this year. Really? Because so far I thought the year was kind of starting a bit slow, but then I think years don't tend to heat up until about the summer onwards, I seem to notice anyway. But what Ethnos was doing is, because first, Cool Mini or Not, I kind of hit and miss with me normally. You know, I gotten kind of bored with all the miniature games that they do. Yeah. So this was like, right, so there's no miniatures, the artwork is meh, looks pretty bland, and is like a really short game. Okay, this isn't their style. So I wasn't sure what to expect. Watched a few reviews, they were giving it raves. It's like, okay, so we're talking Ticket to Ride level area control. Okay, well, we'll give it a try and see what happens. Okay. And that one has actually surprised me, because I didn't expect a huge amount out of it, and it is basically area control with Ticket to Ride level rules. You know, it's so simple, but you've got a good amount of variety with all the different tribe abilities that you use, and you use 6 out of 12, and they all play very differently. You know, I've got a promo pack for it. There's a 13th race, and all they have to do is just bring out more races. But it was just so lightning fast. I've never had a game where I've played with 5 or 6 people, and the turns have gone so fast that by the time the person's picked up a card and actually registered what's on it, it's their turn again. So
that's very, very good. So what's the idea behind it? I mean, obviously I'm aware you've really spoken about it on your own show, but what is the idea behind Ethnos?
It's an area control game, so the standard official of like, put your markers on the board and whoever has the majority gets points over 3 rounds. And the points sort of scale up, but they're randomized to begin with. The way you get the markers on the board, though, is that you play these cards, which are allies. They're tribal creatures, so you got they're fantasy-style things. So you got your giants, your halflings, and that. Very much like half of it's Lord of the Rings-esque in some respect.
Oh, right, okay.
But all the different tribes have got an ability with them, and you're trying to play multiple of the same color, which is like color for location, or multiple of the same tribe, so multiple wing folk, multiple merfolk, that kind of thing. And when you play a band, the bigger the band is, the more points you get in the round. But it also just dictates, how many markers you can get on a particular land. But you choose one to be the leader of the tribe, and that ability goes off. And they're very simple abilities. I mean, some of them are literally just break ties, or, this counts as an extra one for scoring, or this one allows you to put it anywhere, that kind of thing. But when you combine 6 out of 12 together, you select them a bit like Dominion, where you just randomize the selection to begin with. It generates an entirely different game, and all the turn sequences is draw a card or play a band of allies. That's it. It's so super fast that the turns just go round and round, lightning quick, as everyone's getting in each other's faces, because you're going to be vying for control and people are going to be trying to nick it off you. And all the while, as you get to the bottom half of the deck, you've got 3 of these dragon cards that pop out, and the first 2 don't do anything apart from make you basically tense up like crazy. Because as soon as the third one comes out, the round ends immediately. You don't finish a round or anything. Okay. So as soon as the first dragon comes up, it's like, oh, okay, right, we're running out of time here. And then the second one comes out, and it's like, oh, God, I got to play stuff. Otherwise, everything in your hand is useless. Quick, go, go. And then at times you're just praying that third dragon doesn't come out when you don't want it to. And you get this for 3 whole rounds. It's done in less than an hour, even with 6 players. I'm not kidding. I've even done it at a convention with 6 players in less than an hour. And normally conventions are an excuse for the games to take twice as long. And it just really works. It's just really good, neat design. That's why it's got the 10 for me. I mean, it's a game that I'll want to play a lot. Granted, I probably wouldn't play it every single day, although I have played it multiple times in one session. But it's just so neat a design. I can't floor it apart from its artwork, which is more a subjective thing anyway.
Yeah.
It's not horrendous. It just doesn't look that great on the table. But because that's subjective and it's like the only thing I can really fault with it in terms of design and the insert, but that's a minor niggle. It's it deserves that rating. No game is ever perfect, but if the flaws are not big enough to detract from the experience, then it's worth it.
Yeah, it's kind of like a little niggles are acceptable, because you always expect little niggles, and it takes a lot of man hours to really, really kind of make a game almost play kind of perfectly.
Yeah.
Is it Kickstarter? Is it normal kind of CMON Coolmania, not Kickstarter, or is it going to be available on the website?
It's probably on the website, and it has already been sold, I think, recently, or it's starting to come out in retail. I don't think it ever was a Kickstarter, to my knowledge. I certainly don't recall it being on Kickstarter.
No, I don't remember it. I think the CMON kind of keep their miniatures for their Kickstarters, I think.
Well, that generates more money, doesn't it? So I think if this had come out on Kickstarter in its form that it is, it wouldn't have raised much money, because people wouldn't have sort of thought it was going to be that great.
First 1,500 comments would have been, "Where's the minis?"
That's always the way. That's all they have to do. They just have to bring out any game. Doesn't matter if it's the same recycled stuff. Just say it's got miniatures and it sells. That's all it is. People don't even have to know what the game's about. They just go big miniatures, and therefore it's going to be a great game. Well,
it's
guys,
a new version of Cluedo.
It could be. They've got miniatures. Oh, the game must be amazing. Yeah, well done, guys. That's what Besieged scored you on, didn't it? It's like.
I've heard of that. Besieged is one of these games I've heard a lot about, and I've seen it kind of for sale in a lot of places, and I don't know if it's good or if it's quite bad.
Oh, it came and bombed. I mean, there are some people that do like it, but they've had to house rule it like crazy in order to get it to work, because it's so long and random that it just really didn't sort of fit what the game should be about. And being stupidly hard and random is not normally a good combination. But it came out and just did not get the reception. I remember I ended up with a review copy, tried it, and it's like, God, I'm getting rid of this quick. And it's just because it really didn't impress me. I just thought, you've just basically blinged it up and not thought about game design, considering, the only people that play it have house ruled it. I don't know if there's anyone out there who plays it by the rule book as it's written. Because there was just so much that needed changing. And now I've not seen it sold anywhere other than a clearance sale.
I know. It's going to end up in the works.
That's a step up from what they normally do. I mean, I don't even know why I bother walking into a works store anymore. It's like, what do I expect to find in works?
Well, Colin got Taj Mahal from the works, so it's not all bad. And Taj Mahal was quite a cracking little game, last time I checked it. How did you... I mean, you're obviously... You're at the club down in Portsmouth, and then you're getting to the point. I take it by that time you're kind of getting more involved in the club, and then helping the kind of the helping to running thing you said you're kind of doing now. What made you sit down one day and go, do you know what? I am going to do something with this. I'm going to start talking about it. How did that kind of come around?
I think that just comes from me in general, actually, because before I did board gaming, even now, I watch a lot of movies and I did a lot of geekdom stuff, and I always I wouldn't say, I suppose you could say I'm opinionated, but not in a bad way. It's just I like to discuss them or say, these are my thoughts. You know, do you agree or disagree? Right, let's chat. That sort of thing I just like. And when I started the board gaming thing, I knew that I looked at Board Game Geek, saw the millions of games, and thought, where on earth do I even start?
Yeah.
I watched the Dice Tower being like the first thing that came up in the search and what people had said. Watched the videos, really liked it, and then I just thought, well, you know, it looks enjoyable from their perspective. You know what? How hard can it be? And to be fair, that's like the doom words you should never mention before undertaking any kind of escapade. Exactly. How hard can it be?
Exactly.
It doesn't work for Jeremy Clarkson. It certainly didn't work for me.
Oh, we could take the ship round the iceberg. How hard could it be?
Yeah. So it was definitely harder than expected, and it still is. But especially when I'm doing it myself. But it just kind of just went from there. Started off with some written reviews, kept on with that. Started a podcast when, you know, the whole Dice Tower network thing came to light.
Yeah.
You know, I could, you know, get on with these people and have the podcast on this network and get it out and about. And it's like, oh, well, I need a few episodes first, so let's get started. And it's just literally evolved from that point, just to be a medium of, you know what, now I can share opinions and discuss them with other people. Because, I mean, my opinions will, like everybody's, will differ from lots of others. You know, I've got this shtick now, that, you know, almost like my MO, which is if I don't like a game, I'm going to say it how it is. I will not hold back. And yeah, because some people will only review games that they really love, and some people will kind of like, I didn't particularly like this game, but I either won't review it or I'll just, you know, I'll give an overview of it. It's like, no, if I don't like a game, I'm going to say why. It's going to happen, and people will agree and some people will disagree. But it's that after chat that I love.
Did you just rock up to the Dice Tower and say, can I be in part of the network? And they went, yep, come on, jump on board.
Not exactly like, oh, wait, come on, jump on board. I mean,
I know.
I think at that point they were happy with the written reviews I did.
Yeah.
But the podcast had barely started, and they wanted. This was a time when they really wanted you to have like about 5 to 10 episodes under your belt.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want podcasts to like join the network and then disappear because you couldn't keep up with it. So I had to build that up first, and then I got on the network that way, and then that's kind of stuck around. And you know, the video part, I did some video a while back with in the flat, but I found that, I mean, I look back on it now and I just think, oh my god, that was amateurish. I don't know whether it's me trying to be a perfectionist or not, because I see some people doing it with far better quality or far better, you know, production values, which is either because they're popular or because they're on Kickstarter funding themselves, or because there's more than one of them doing it. Believe me, there's a lot to be gained from just having one other person help you out with stuff.
Just holding stuff down and holding it steady.
Yeah, but even just being able to like go out and do things more, or just be on the show itself, because that's a big difference. A lot of people have two people doing banter, and it's really weird when you're doing it by yourself, because you've just basically got to rabbit at a microphone and do nothing else.
I mean, I would probably, if somebody didn't stop and actually talk in the podcast, I would probably end up rabbiting on as well. But I mean, how do you just come up with a couple of topics and then just talk about them? I mean, do you record? With you doing it by yourself, does it allow you to record a batch at once and then just release them as you see fit, or are you actively in the habit of saying, okay, it's Sunday night, let's do a podcast kind of thing? How does the scheduling type work?
There's not really a schedule. I just try to get the content out semi-regularly.
Yeah.
I mean, I tried to do it once a month before, and that was okay, but the podcast was quite long, you know, like an hour and a bit. And the problem with doing a long podcast is by the time you finish recording it, it's like, oh, do I have to edit this now? Yeah. And it just gets a little bit demoralizing at that point. Now, with season 2, as I effectively called it, the reboot, what I essentially did was I said, right, well, I'm going to try and keep the podcast smaller. So with the exception of some collaborations I've done, which obviously take a lot longer, I've tried to keep it to a max of 45 minutes and try to keep sort of half an hour episodes. Yeah. But do them more frequently. So maybe like one every couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks. Yeah. And that's been going quite well so far, because you feel like, oh yeah, you know what? I've got a spare like 45 minutes. I can just go quickly run that podcast out. But there's no planning for it. At most I will plan what the topic is. So I know that the next one is either going to be a top 10 games by whatever publisher, or I know it's just going to be discussing, or it's going to be an convention talk, something like that. So I know the topic, and I have my format, so I know, right, music, intro, talk, conclusion, the end. And that's it. There's no script. I do not use a script. Your boss does everything by script, you don't. And I know some people that will meticulously script out their episodes and what they're saying. I haven't got the time to do that. It's hard enough trying to get the podcast out.
I haven't got the
inclination.
I haven't got the inclination, to be honest. I've kind of been asked for questions. I mean, you've seen the show notes that I write. It's basically, and I've said this before, it's kind of like the show notes are, right, let's talk about how you got into the hobby, and then let's talk about some stuff just now, and then just whatever kind of comes up kind of thing. We've not sat for like 3 hours beforehand and said, right, and then if you come in with the Iron Brew stuff, that'll allow us to segue into Iron Brew, and then we can talk about nostalgia, and then we can talk about how you got into the hobby, and then we can talk about how you got in, it's kind of like, I know it works for some people very, very well. I mean, there's some guys out there that I think that they do stuff which is obviously very, very well put together and also very, very scripted. Do you know what it is? I think if I did that, it would take me probably 4 or 5 attempts to actually go ahead and record anything, because I would know I would think I was making mistakes, and then I would stop, and then I would completely start again, and I think you would kind of like miss the kind of the natural flow of things. But no, you have I think you settled into a style, but you're not Mr. Ranty Angry.
Well, it depends on what game I'm talking about, but
there's not. You kind of state your points, but you've never kind of went off and go, "This is rubbish," and then come back and here's a table getting flipped, kind of thing.
Well, the first season, I think there would have been too many people that would have heard it. Now, not so much, but I've tried to, because I've obviously been part of this Dice Tower network. I don't tend to swear a lot in real life, but I can do. But I tried to keep the podcast like semi-family friendly, just to like, let's avoid these topics. Let's not be too controversial, and let's not swear like constantly. And obviously, when you want to rant about a game and you have to restrict yourself a little bit, it stops you from going completely nuts. But there are some I have done where there's a bit of a rant going. I mean, some games that I've hated. I did a top 10 hated games. That was quite ranty. There was a podcast review I did for Food Chain Magnate. I ranted like crazy on that one. So
there was the kind of the top 10 people that the most annoying gamers.
Oh god, I actually forgot. I ranted at myself after that, because I recorded it, got it out, and then a week later realised, oh my god, how did I forget this dude? And I need to literally, I can't do the list again. I have to sort of say, look, just bump off number 10 and slot this one in around number 2 or 3. Like, I hate this person that much. I'll do it now just as a bonus for people. But I forgot it so much because it only came to my mind on my next gaming night when this person, like this type of person, turned up again. And I call them the deserter. Who, not deserting in the middle of a game, that's a different story. And most of the time, they tell you ahead of time, I might have to run off to the train or something, that's fine. The deserter is the one who, you've enjoyed this game, it might be this huge thing that's all over the table, and it's like, oh, that was a good laugh, thanks for that, guys. And before you've even had a chance to register anything else, they've already run off, to go have their smoke break or just to find other people. And it's like, thanks, I now have to put away this giant monstrosity of a game, all tokens, cards and everything.
Especially
and
if it's
just
Scythe.
ran off. I hate those people. It's like, if somebody is comfortable packing it away themselves, then fine, but at least ask.
Are you okay there?
No, you wanted a rant, I gave you a rant. But
then, you also, on the other side of that, you do get the protectionist person. Which is the person where you often say, do you want me to... you've just sat down and played something for the last 3 hours with them. And then you're like, well, do you want me to help you put it away? No, it's fine. And you see them kind of gently folding stuff over and moving stuff about in the box to make sure that... It's not the case that it's not going to fit in the box. it is going to fit in the box. It's going to easily fit in the box, but it's not going to fit in the box the way that they would like it to fit in the box.
That doesn't bother me too much, though, because in the end, it's like you've asked them, they've said no, fine. Put it away however you feel like it's your game.
I'm just trying to help you.
I know. I've had times where I've got to put away Scythe, or what's a recent review copy, Unfair. That game. Oh my god.
Oh yeah. Okay. What's that like? Is that any good? Because I've heard good things about it. That's is that Druid City?
No. Unfair is the it's another cool one, not one funny enough, but it's the roller coaster sort of tableau building game.
Yeah.
It's had a lot of mixed reviews because it's very mean in terms of what you can do to other players can really screw them up.
Yeah.
And it seems to happen quite often. Also, the cards in it are not particularly well balanced in terms of the event cards, and that seems to be a big driver of the game. But that aside, building the actual theme park in front of you and having all the different upgrades and that is actually quite good fun. So I'm kind of like, I think it's good but not great. And I think the review for that sort of came out last week. But this one, oh my god, the setup and takedown for this game is ridiculous because you've got to put all your theme decks together and then there's different cards, you've got to separate them out, and then you've got to give them the full-on Magic the Gathering shuffle before you start, because otherwise you'll have a ton of the same thing turn up.
Yeah.
And that takes a long time to set up and take down. And if I end up with deserters when I'm playing that, the blood's boiling. Because it's like, you couldn't stick around for 5 minutes to help me separate these cards.
We have a thing at Dwarf, which is the time of the table flip. It's kind of like Doctor, kind of like time of death. It's like time of table flip, 8:19.
I think I'm worried that there's going to be one time I play a game which has got a huge setup time, and as soon as it finishes, if I see anybody get out of their seat, I'll be like, sit down.
You just rush over.
Yeah, it's like
pick up a miniature and hold it to their nose and go, this might fit.
It's like the barman is not going anywhere. You can have a puff out of your sonic screwdriver thing you're holding in your hand at any point. Just help me put this game away. I was that's what it should have been on that list, and I cannot believe I forgot it.
It's on the list now, so you could always take this entire audio and kind of put it back in the show. Do you know why I got confused? James Hudson from Druid City Games, he was talking about Unfair, and he said he had a cracking time with it, so that's why I got confused, because I'm getting old, and when you're talking to too many people, your brain forgets who you've been speaking to and what you're attributing that to. But is that a sign of Cool Mini or not, or are they called CMON or whatever they're calling themselves? They're obviously, they're trying different genres now. Maybe they are.
Yeah, because if you look at the miniature games, it has the full-on Cool Mini or not like purple symbol, and now the recent stuff has literally just got CMON, so I don't really know what they're kind of playing at with it. But the game itself, I do like. I've kept it for now. I'd like to see more expansions to it, and you can change the game with these cards that say, right, you can't be mean-spirited to anyone in this game, or these things happen, and that does help, I think, to do it. But if you can sort of overlook the fact that you've got to get into a light mood, you have to accept that these mean cards can come out and that it's probably unbalanced as all get out, but just have fun building a theme park.
Yeah.
And that's good for me. And that part of the game is fun. The first one I had was, I think we just mixed like the basic themes per the rulebook, and I don't think I actually had a single roller coaster in my park. I think I was just buying all the sideshows because the cards were kind of like asking for that for bonuses. Yeah. But I ended up building the biggest memory I had was that I built a cinema, a normal cinema sideshow in there, and it's like on its own. I thought, yep, it's a cool cinema, it'll do good. It's in it'll play horror films. The guy opposite me then builds a card, which, bear in mind, I had not seen any of the cards, so I didn't know what to expect. He builds one that's called a luxury cinema. So it looks more like a hotel than a cinema, and he's there mocking me, going, "It's like, is it better than your silly little cinema?" And it's like, okay, right, it's on. And then for the rest of the game, I start putting every upgrade I possibly can on this one cinema. I mean, it helped me to win the game, but it didn't have to. And I had a blueprint that said get all these like guest upgrades on it anyway, so it kind of fitted with the path I was going for. But I was just thinking, right, you and your luxury cinema, right, mine's got air conditioning. Does yours? No. Does yours have toilets? No. Mine does. Does yours have a locker room? No. And it's like, I love just putting all these upgrades on this cinema, and all he does is like, he comes back with like, mine's a deluxe quality luxury cinema, and it's like, I don't care, you don't have anywhere to go to the bathroom, okay? So that is not a cinema.
Exactly. It's a luxury, wonderful, top-hatted cinema, but it smells of urine.
It was just really funny because I think I had 7 upgrades on this cinema by the end of the game. I didn't have a roller coaster. I literally just built a cinema multiplex, and he can be there with his luxury deluxe quality cinema, but it's like, when I've got comfy seating, air conditioning, and a bathroom, I know where I want to go to watch a movie, okay? And that was just it. It didn't matter if it tanked the game or not, but we just got into this war between us two with this cinema complex, and that's one reason I kept it, because I think it does generate a lot of those laughs if you get into the theme. And a lot of us have gone into this game having played either Theme Park or Roller Coaster Tycoon in the past,
which are both fantastically wonderful games. Well, for me, from a bygone era, because I've played them a couple of times on the PC. I think even on the PlayStation 1 years and years ago. I can think that was when the time of the whole kind of theme kind of games coming on.
Roller Coaster Tycoon was always a good PC favorite. I mean, I don't have the time for it now, but I used to play the originals like crazy. And Theme Park was one of the games I had on the old Mega Drive console. I mean, you want to feel old, think back to that.
No, I remember that. I remember all the little characters going around either saying they wanted something to eat, or they wanted something to drink, or they were bored, or they were happy, and it was just, you could lose days of your life to this game.
And you create what you want, and wonder just whether the person who designed the game was making a statement about litter control. Because I swear I've never seen so much litter appear in any game.
It was like, it wasn't like a theme park. It was like the litter dropping of a small country in a day or something like that. The amount of kind of like paper that ended up kind of going about, and you had to hire the employees, and some of the employees were really industrious, and some of the employees were like really, really lazy, and you wouldn't find out they were like really, really lazy until you'd obviously ended up spending too much money, so it was really difficult to kind of replace them into somebody else. So it was
the AI meant that they would run around in circles half the time. It's like, no, this way, it's right in front of you, man. And there's this pathway, chock-a-block with like drink cartons and fry packets and that, and he's running around in a circle doing these little tiny bits in one corner, and it's just like, get cleaning.
I might pick up a crisp packet, I might not, kind of thing. Do you take review copies of games to the groups then, when you're playing, or are you the type, when it comes to kind of like playing a review copy, will you kind of do a solo run yourself and kind of put 2 players out and see how it plays, or would you take it out to a group of friends? You have like a trusted group of friends that you'll play these review copies with?
If the game's complex, I might do like a few turns just to help learn the rules. But most of the time I'll tend to get it from the book, and maybe a 1-turn example. If it's a solo game that I can do in solo, then I will generally do that first. Yeah. As long as it's not a completely different mode. You know, because some games, like, Stonemaier stuff, they've got the autonomous modes, and if you play Scythe in solo mode, it's nothing like playing it in proper multiplayer. But no, I don't really have a select group. I just literally take it to a club or a group of close friends if I'm going around there for dinner or something, and say, here's a game, I've learnt the rules, want to learn it. And as long as I know I've got the rules to teach it, I'm happy, because I don't want a select group. It's like when you tell designers, don't play test it with your select group of friends and no one else. You need to get it out there. It's the same thing with a review copy of a game. I need to be able to say about this game, right, I have literally read the rulebook once, I'm now going to play this game, some people have not heard of it, and I'm going to see how easy it is to teach it, how easy it is for them to get into it, whether they enjoyed it, and that's so much better for me to come up with some thoughts of whether the game's good or not, rather than saying, all right, I'm going to play this one game with these 3 people only who I know only like these types of games. Because then it doesn't work. So, I just take it to the Portsmouth club, or, I mean, it's not the only club I go to. I go to a Southampton and a Petersfield one as well. Okay. There's a lot of local ones in Hampshire. It's quite great. But,
that's quite cool.
And, I'll just take it to the clubs and get them played. That's why I can usually turn the reviews relatively quickly, because it will be a case of, right, I've had these in this week. Yeah. Okay, I'll take those 2 on Monday, I'll take that one on Wednesday, I'm seeing them on Saturday. Yeah, great, there you go. Now I can get all my plays in.
And do you do the preparation then beforehand? Do you kind of, like, as you say, do you play a couple of turns so it's quite easy for everybody to grasp it?
It depends on if I'm teaching the game to someone else, then I'll be teaching the rules before I start the game, and I just might show them on the board. Yeah. But in terms of myself, it really just depends on the game. I mean, if it's a complex one, I'll run through a couple of turns myself just so I can go, oh yeah, that's how it flows, that's all good. But then let's take something like FNOS, for example. I read the rulebook in less than 10 minutes and realised, yeah, this is dirt simple. I can teach it. It's like, well, that's good though, because I like games that are like that. Yeah. The game can have depth and still be simple to teach. They're the ones that I tend to like. I get sick and tired of these. I suppose it's becoming a bit of a problem in the industry in general, I think, from my perspective, is that games are starting to come out that are so overly complex that only the elitist can play them. Or they'll certainly be like, oh yeah, I can... you can play it, but it's going to take you 2 hours to learn it and then about another 3 hours to play it. And I just miss seeing a lot of nice, simple, streamlined games that are like, teach it in less than 15 minutes, get playing for an hour, hour and a half, and test your brain cells enough to enjoy it. And there are some like that do come out, but I wish there was more.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the strive. I think this is what you got to watch out for, I guess, as the games industry expands and you get more and more titles coming out, and you get the titles coming out through Kickstarter as well. You'll see people trying to do something different for the sake of try to do something different, and some people trying to add in more mechanics so they can say, well, look, we are a lot more different than kind of what else is kind of out there. Have you had the experience of taking one of your review games to, say, your group, and then everybody sits around, and after about half an hour, everybody shares glances, and it's obvious it's not the best game in the world? Or have you been quite lucky with your review copies?
Most of the review copies I tend to ask for myself. So, I mean, I'll get some games that have turned out to be quite bad, but we still finish the game, and I'll get the feedback afterwards that, that wasn't as enjoyable. But I will generally, 75% of the time, ask for the review copy specifically. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm only going after the games that I think I'll enjoy. I think I tend to go after the games that I know people want to hear about. There'll be some really obscure game that no one's ever heard of, and it's like, well, it may be good, it may be bad, but who's actually looking for it? I want it to, somebody to actually want to read it. And so, I mean, FNOS at first, I probably would not have, gone for it at first, because I would have thought, looks a bit bland, doesn't look like much. But it was getting hyped and buzz, and I thought, I've got to check this out and find out more. And that's when I discovered it. But I have had occasional games in the past where I've had a review copy, whether it's because I've asked for it or, I've just been like, usually I've been asked, maybe like by a distributor or a retailer saying, oh yeah, this game's we've just putting this on our stores now, can you review it? And I might get it, and it might be one of the most abysmal things I've ever played. I know I had a bad deal with that. Do you remember a little card game called The Game?
Yeah, that rings a bell. Yeah,
literally just called The Game. I mean, how ingenious was that? But that was just a little card game you could play solitaire with a bunch of people, and I absolutely hated that game. I could not see why it was like that. But some people will like it, and I don't think there's really been much of a time when I've played a game that's a review copy with people and everyone's hated it. There's usually somebody that likes it for whatever reason, and that's good, because then it helps me when I do the review to think, right, I don't like it for these reasons, but other people don't mind that, so this is worth bringing up. And I think, some games, because I say, if I don't like a game, I'll talk about it, I will not hold back. It doesn't matter how hyped it is, and you have to really you have to set your defenses up sometimes, to take a game like, say, Terraforming Mars or Great Western Trail and say, I don't particularly like this game. Yeah. Because some people will actually agree with you. Great. Yeah. Some people will disagree with you, but give reasons as to why they disagree. Great. Perfect. That's fine. You just have to be careful of the ones that disagree with you and act as if you've literally just gone around their house and insulted their child to their face, because they take it so seriously.
Yeah,
they're the ones to watch out for.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. I could review something like Terraforming Mars and go, I personally don't like it for these reasons.
Yeah.
But others did. And if you are into that, or if you don't mind this part, then great. I think you're going to have a blast. That's perfectly fine. I got no issues with that. And that is the mark of why everyone differs on board games in general. But I can't think of a game where I've got it, put it on the table, and everyone's hated it.
No, that's good.
Because even something like Exploding Kittens, I mean, I can't stand that game, but from friends of mine, love playing it with their kids.
Yeah,
because
from
it's so simple.
The sales and stuff that it's had, and and there's obviously the elephant in the room, Mr. and Mrs. Cards Against Humanity, which
I'm starting to get sick and tired of now. I mean, I feel the clones that are coming out for that at the moment, where people are saying, "Look at my amazing game. What is it? It's Cards Against Humanity, but I've done this." And it's like the second you say it's Cards Against Humanity, that's basically right. I'm turned off now. Not that I don't necessarily like the game, but it's like, seriously, you could not just come up with your own idea and you had to copy this?
Yeah, I kind of remember getting a kind of an email, I don't know if it was an email or a message through something asking us to talk about their game, and it was a game which was, it was swear word in the title. And I was just like, oh, do you fancy coming on and talking about it? So I'm not going to spend my time using the F word through the show to describe the game. And it was just like, oh, we're being really edgy, and it's like, no, you're being 13. That's what you're being. That's kind of what you're.
A lot of these games are like that. I mean, we've had it. It's been fun. Usually when it's not done in such a rude way. No. I mean, Cards Against Humanity has come out. A friend of mine bought Joking Hazard.
Oh yeah.
Based on that webcomic, and it's fun. It generates some laughs, but it's crude. And I've got to the point where I've now desensitized to any crude humor in those games. It's like, I want someone to come up with something ingenious or something clever, not just simply put some sick photo in front of something and say, that's funny. But there's been non-rude versions of that. The original Say Anything technically wasn't meant to be a rude game. People just twist it when they play it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you can write anything, and lo and behold, the last time I played it, I was with a group of unknowns who literally just wanted to twist it like anything, so that was great. But the ones, I think it's more like the describe-y games that work best. Like, I mean, Snake Oil, Super Fight, one or two others.
Obama Llama, I've heard, is an excellent game for kind of like that kind of thing, just getting people to use their imagination, and it's meant to be really, really good fun.
Yeah, that one I like. I like those ones better. I mean, granted, they've got the same problem as Cards Against Humanity. They're getting cloned like crazy, and it's like, oh, it's just the same thing. You've just changed the theme. Yeah. But those ones I don't mind so much because they're not as crude. This is imagination and cleverness, not just rude words. I know that makes me sound incredibly old, but
you're not going to be older than me, so it's all good, Luke. It's all good. It's you in my house now. You're just young, and you're just a young little man. That's all you need to think about, because I'm no doubt an awful lot older than you are. With you,
get off my lawn.
Exactly, get off my land. With you, obviously having the profile that you do, and this isn't me going to go, oh, you're so wonderful, and I'm going to say with you having the profile that you do and the presence out there and being part of the Dice Tower network, do you get approached by a lot of Kickstarter people to do kind of like previews and reviews? Do you have are you coming across that a lot more?
Sometimes, occasionally, like the odd email or Facebook message will come through asking for that. But I've come up with a steadfast rule now that I just don't want to do Kickstarters. Yeah. Because I buy a lot of Kickstarters, but they tend to be from well-known publishers. Rarely do I suddenly go, oh yeah, this complete random has done a game, I'm going to back it with my own cash. And I'm a bit like Z Garcia in that respect, because he said similar things on Q&As before. I want to see a final version of the game before I start putting my thoughts into it. So if somebody asks me to preview their Kickstarter, I'd rather just say, look, you know what, this isn't what I do, because firstly, it won't be a final copy of the game. So that means I can't really give a fair opinion on it.
Yeah.
Secondly, a lot of Kickstarters out there. Yes, there's 5% of Kickstarters which are awesome. There is 95% of Kickstarters out there that are god-awful and horrible. I don't want to have to say to somebody, look, this game ain't going to work.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's extra time on top of that as well. I mean, occasionally I will do a Kickstarter one, but they are super rare, and usually it's only if it's someone I know anyway. A friend of mine, Paul Harris, he's name dropping, but he runs Handycom twice a year, the little convention. And he's designing a game which he'll probably put on Kickstarter soon, but he brought it to the expo, called Scrumpy. Now, I've played it because he brought it to one of our Southampton clubs, and obviously it's still in prototype form, so that's essentially the equivalent. That was an exception, though, because one, I know the guy. Two, he knows I'm going to be honest about it, and he doesn't have a problem with this, because he's actively saying, if you don't like the game, tell me why, and I can try and fix it. And also, because actually, partially just because of the theme. I come from Somerset originally, so he already knew that if he's going to design a game called Scrumpy, he has to get me involved. It's just like, I can't turn around and not review a game called Scrumpy when I'm from Somerset. It just does not work.
I mean, you'll get chucked out, won't you?
Exactly, I'll be banned from Somerset.
And Paul is going to be coming on the show. So there you go. He's going to be.
He's on the list, is he?
He is on. Yeah, he's on the list. Like, there's a list. There's I was like, Paul Scrumpy. Yeah, that rings. I was just checking my calendar. Yep, he's going to be end of July. We're going to have a visit from Mr. Harris.
Ah, sweet. So, no doubt he'll be talking about Scrumpy and Handycon and probably nothing else. But
well, that's fair enough, because as I say, it's as I said to you at the beginning, it's kind of your night. Are there games that you are kind of looking forward to, that you are hoping you get the email through to say, would you like to review it? Anything that's kind of coming in the next kind of year, 3 months that you've kind of went, ooh, want some of that?
Not so much on the review front. I mean, there's stuff that's going to come out soon that is going to be, fun games and that. Yeah. With me, I think the main thing I'm looking forward to, which I'll do reviews for these. They won't be review copies because I've already backed them, but it'll be the various Kickstarters that come through.
Yeah.
And once I get the videos up and running, I'll be able to do more reviews of not just the stuff I get as review copies, but also just stuff in general I've bought. Mm. And it's these Kickstarters that I'm really like, come on, please work. Because I've got, I'm expecting the entire Hostage Negotiator collection through. I reviewed that once in its base form. I now want to give it another shot with all the stuff added, because it really helps. But then I've got Sentinels, the Multiverse, the final expansion backed, and I am praying that is as good as the rest of it.
We've had Christopher on from Greater Than Games, and he promised it was. So there you go.
I'm sure he did. I cannot believe he didn't call his booth Greater Than Games at the expo. So I don't think he was known. I don't think the booth was Greater Than Games. I think he was under some other name or with other people. So I'd forgotten he was there. And I thought, oh my god, this is my favourite game ever, and I did not go to meet the designer. You
did
moron.
You not? It's like oh my goodness. Because he would have had strong hair game. he's got a strong hair game. He's got like this. I'm just jealous because as far as because I'm old, my hair has decided it's going to start doing interesting things like grow out of my ears and grow out of my nose instead, but not decide it wants to grow out the top of my head. And and I think when we had the interview with him, I think he came on Skype first of all with his video on, and he was like, phew, it was like a kind of a Timothy L'Oreal kind of swishing his hair advert. It's just like, you're just doing this just to mock me. Kind of thing. But no, he was a good chat.
He's not like a closet elf or anything, is he? I mean,
well, he promised me he wasn't a wizard, but I don't know. We'll need to kind of see it. We'll need to kind of see on that.
The game is magical.
Don't. We just let people away with Magic the Gathering, and that's kind of that's basically as far as we like to go. What about anything else that's kind of coming out that you're kind of looking forward to finding out more. I mean, for myself, it's Charterstone. I must admit that I am dying to see what that kind of game is about.
That's probably high up on the list, actually, I'll admit, because, I mean, I haven't heard much about it and I haven't looked into it that much. I didn't want to sort of get... Because I've mentioned this before, hype is one of my biggest killers for games, because you get a game, it gets hyped like crazy, and then you get it, and it never lives up to it. I love Scythe, but even I admit that doesn't deserve the amount of hype it got. You know, I just happen to love it, but games just get ridiculously overhyped. And I don't want to run that through with Charterstone either. It sounds like something I'm going to love. Stonemaier, Legacy, building like Resource Mountain, almost like a mini Civilization thing. Perfect. It sounds ideal for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's probably certainly quite high on the list, I would suspect. I'm just trying to see what else is coming out.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, I think I prefer Viticulture over Scythe, as I said in the episode where we kind of reviewed, did a kind of a rundown on both of them.
I do, but only just, because they were both in my top 10 last year.
Yeah, where was you? Yeah, well, mine was, I put Viticulture just above Scythe. But I think that was because of the way that Scythe finished for us, in terms of the last kind of calculation mechanic for working out the points. I kind of didn't grasp it at the time, and then went, oh, right, okay, so I should have been more popular, kind of thing, instead of gathering all these fabulous, fantastic kind of resources.
It's not the be-all or end-all, but I mean, it certainly helps. But yeah, I agree. I mean, Viticulture is taking over that one because it's a bit more accessible as such. I mean, I'm trying to think of many big games that are coming. I mean, certainly anything, the Time Story expansions, that come out later this year. I love that game, so I'm hoping that they're going to be just as good or maybe improve on what's being done, because it's kind of drifted a little bit. I would like to hope that Lisboa is going to give me a good feeling, because I've been a massive fan of Vital Lacerda's designs to date with his Euro games. And granted, I haven't played CO2, but I'm waiting for his second edition. I thought that was actually meant to be out by now, a Kickstarter for that, but I haven't seen anything yet. But he was going to reprint it, so I wanted to play that first.
Yeah.
But I've liked Vignos, I love Kanban, I love the Gallerist. It's like, this is a heavy Euro with good theme. Perfect. So
exactly, right up your kind of alley.
It's a Euro with theme, great, but Lisboa is one that I've only looked at, and it's like, okay, this is a bit of a weird colour scheme, and it's not the first thematic setting I would jump on, but it's Vital Lacerda, I want to try it. And I'm hoping that this isn't going to be like I love this stuff up until now. I really don't want to have to say that.
No. I mean, I'm a couple of level 99 games that are coming out that I've seen. Seventh Cross, which is claiming to be kind of Castlevania inspired, and also Imperial Steam by Level 99 Games, which is like a kind of a card game train type game, which is it's got the artwork up, and the artwork is up to the usual kind of Level 99 standard. It's fantastic, kind of anime styley kind of thing. The stuff for Seventh Cross reminds you of kind of like the Symphony of the Night kind of Castlevania kind of anime type style, so they both look kind of interesting. I guess the other thing is it's like going through the games that I already have and should be playing already, rather than kind of looking to the kind of the future. I mean, there's other Kickstarter games that that GKR Giant Killer Robots that was out, that was by Weta. That kind of really
heard of that one.
It's just kind of like big huge robots fighting each other in a city, and it looked fantastic, and it was Weta, so it was it was kind of like, ooh, well, really kind of interested in that, so that should be quite good fun. Grimslingers will be coming out soon. Well, that'll be getting fulfilled hopefully over the next couple of months. And that's Greenbrier Games, but it was Stephen S. Gibson that did the artwork for it, and the artwork on that is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, there's not much I can think of for the future. I mean, I suppose Rising Sun's a good one, because I was umming and ahhing about, do I back it, do I not? It's really expensive, and I caved in at the last minute and backed it. And now I'm hoping I don't live to regret that decision. So, because I didn't latch on to Blood Rage as much as other people. So I'm hoping that this one's different enough to make me go, right, this is what I wanted from the original one. Yeah. Even though I know they are different games. So this is like, oh, please be Please be good. I suppose.
Did you go into all the expansions as well? Because there was a second box you could go into, which was kind of like cool. Oh my goodness!
I know. I thought, well, if I do like it, then I will be annoyed if I don't have everything. I mean, at the end of the day, if I don't like it, somebody will have it. So it's not the end of the world.
I know, it's exactly. You can just stick it up on kind of like there's the Kickstarter kind of. Not the Kickstarter sales page, but there's the Kickstarter regret pages I like to see, because you always see like a kind of a Conan the Barbarian kind of king level kind of thing, or there's like, here's my copy of here's my copy of Others, The Seven Sins. Here's another one. And I think the only ones I've ever seen kind of getting any flack was kind of Gloomhaven, when people put a couple of copies of Gloomhaven up at like £300, and folk were like, steady on.
Yeah, I really do hate the secondary market when it comes to those things. I mean, it's up to them what price they want to do, but when I know that someone's bought it or paid that kind of price, it just makes me sad, because we knew that Gloomhaven was coming with a second print, and I mean, I don't have it. It's not something I know I would get to the table enough. I don't think it's a bad game. I just don't think it's the hotness. But you know, even I can't deny that for £100 you're getting a ton of game. It is good value, and it's still good. You know, it's not the best thing ever, but it's a good game. Yeah. But I was never going to get it, and I knew that the reprint was coming for £100. Why do I want to pay you £200 for your old copy that doesn't even have everything in it? And I see this a lot. When Games Workshop pulled away from Fantasy Flight, constantly in second-hand sales, I'm seeing Fury of Dracula and Forbidden Stars and Chaos in the Old World going for like £80-90. It's just like, guys, come on. Yes, it's going to be out of print, but you obviously don't like the game enough to keep it, because that's why you're selling it. So let someone else have fun. It sounds like you
spoke about this before. Did you potentially do an episode recently called Scalpers, Mr. Hector?
No comment. That actually was it was a fun one and a little bit of a rant, but that got a lot of feedback. Not like negative. It was a bit of both. Well, not. I mean, no, there wasn't really any negative feedback, but there was a lot of debates with that about, I agree, or actually I think it's all right, or I disagree because of this, and this, and it's like, wow, nothing has ever got so much response. Then
I think
that
you're
one.
but I think you're coming down to money, and you're coming down to ownership, and it comes down to what you think a game is kind of worth.
Yeah, and that's incredibly subjective.
Yeah, and there's also, I think, there's only a couple of times I've seen people kind of really have a go at somebody else, and it was the times with Gloomhaven. But I also remember somebody selling a copy of Mechs and Minions, I think it was like 3 months before the next run was due out. And basically they'd pretty much opened the cardboard box the game had been shipped in, and basically says, I'm selling this for, I think they were asking £175 for it. And I think they were kind of lucky to get away with their clothes. I think by the time the kind of crowd had descended on them, I think the admin had to come in and say, listen, they've got the right to sell it, you've got the right to buy it, if they want to do it, that's fine. But if you want to hear Luke talk about this subject, there's better episodes. It's not that long ago, this episode, but it was entirely a whole load of fun. And it was all about scalpers, and it's certainly kind of worthwhile listening to. You went to the UK Games Expo, which I'm assuming you're still recovering from in terms of your feet and also your teeth, sounding by the amount of Iron Brew you've potentially drunk, even though it's sugar-free.
I haven't gone that mad with it, but I mean, it's just feet and mind more than anything else. I'm still like drained from it, because it was even more exhausting this time. And it wasn't, I don't go around the expo doing loads of interviews. I did a couple, and I'll report on them when I do my video chat about it. Yeah. But I don't do the whole, I go around with a video camera doing interviews, because one, I don't have all the equipment for it, and two, I'm not satisfied enough with the quality of it. Yeah. So this is just literally going around, helping out the Dice Tower, doing demo games, shopping about, and just walking around that place for ages. Yeah. It just takes it out of you. And when you think, right, the trade hall's finished, I can now rest, then people are like, do you want to come over to this table? I'm demoing a few of these, can you give me your thoughts? It's like, whew, okay, fine. It's always good, but it's like you don't get a chance to sit down.
That's what I say. When you've got a reputation, you just have to expect these kind of things.
I'm not knocking it. I mean, it's cool enough when somebody just comes on and says, "I listen to your stuff" or whatever, because it's people like the Dice Tower and Shut Up and Sit Down, and I get it all the time. Yeah, and they're used to it. Yeah. Us lot who are very much small fry. I've never thought of myself as big or ever would get that big. And, we're not used to having people sort of say, oh, I listen to your stuff, or I recognize the voice and that. And it's kind of, we love it and we're willing to say hi, but it does throw us off guard.
It's a bit, you kind of get, shocks. Me? Kind of thing, yeah.
But it's good, though, especially when it's someone you've chatted with on Twitter for ages and you don't realise it's them until they've actually introduced themselves, because you're talking to an avatar for ages, and it's not until they come up to you at a convention and go, it's me, it's Johnny. Oh, right, okay.
Exactly.
Thank God you filled that blank in, because I had no idea who you were a minute ago.
Was there a game of the show that's kind of stood out for you that you went, ooh, nice?
Well, I did get to demo First Martians, and I am looking forward to that one, actually. That could probably go with my I hope this is good, because I have already said many a time that I once called Robinson Crusoe overrated when I played it multiplayer. Mm-hmm. I then regretted that decision after buying it and playing it solo more often. And now it is I realised, this is actually a really good game, solo or multiplayer. I just had to give it more time. First Martians looks like it's going to take it and make it even better, especially with the use of an app. And I've been a complete patriot for apps in board games lately. So this one I'm really hoping does the trick. So that was good fun. I don't know if there was any others that, say, stood out by themselves. I just played quite a lot of games where I thought, oh, this is actually all right.
Yeah.
And, I mean, all sorts. I'm just going to go very quickly through lists, but I mean, like Petrichor, David Terzi one with the clouds and dropping rain. I thought that was quite neat and looked very pretty. Dice Hospital in prototype stage. That was a nice little
sort of light. Caesar.
I forget who's doing it, but it's I think maybe
Alley-Cat Games.
Something like that. And I think Mike Nudd's a designer. Might be right. Hang on. Let me see. The Mike Nudd and Stan called Kodonskiv. Sorry if I completely messed up that name, but I'm very bad with names like that. But it's Alley Cat Games. And that was a very nice, light-hearted, fun-themed little dice game. Kitchen Rush, the timed game from Artipia, perfectly themed. But do you like timed games or not? Mm-hmm. Century Spice Road, that was kind of like the game of the expo, I think.
That was everyone that says, here's my haul for the expo, and I saw Century turning up in pretty much most people's piles, so I'm interested to find out more about it.
It is good, but everyone is calling it a Splendor killer. I don't know if I'd go that far.
That's a big shout if you're saying a Splendor killer, because Splendor's just have they not released a kind of an expansion themselves? So that's some big words for people to be shouting out about Splendor, because it's firm. It's one of these things that's becoming it's almost like a very decent kind of gateway game. It's kind of entering into that kind of fold of, if you want to help people get into board games, get the Splendor out there, get your Carcassonne out there, kind of thing. So
it is, I would call it a staple gateway game. I mean, I've warmed up to it more over the years. I wasn't big on it when I first played it, and now it's like, oh, you know what, I'm actually liking the simplicity of it, and now I have it in the collection because it is such a good gateway game. But I played Century Spice Road and thought, sort of gateway, but there's a bit more thought required because you got to do all this like shenanigans with the cubes. Looks very nice, and it does play very much like a Splendor type card game.
Yes,
but I feel that it's different enough. I just feel like, do you want the slightly more tricksy version, or do you want the simplistic version, and then pick your game based on that. But I also didn't want to say it was a Splendor killer because I knew, obviously, you just mentioned it, Cities, the expansion.
Yeah,
I played that as well. I only played one module, but that module made the game better, and there's other modules in it where I'm like, that would definitely be an improvement. And it's kind of like, I can't say, oh, the Century of Spice Road has killed Splendor until Cities comes out, and then that will kill Spice Road. It's like...
I know, exactly. It's like, my dad's bigger than your dad. My dad could beat you in a fight. It's like, my dad's driving his car towards your dad. Oh, okay. Kind of thing.
But a few others, Iunu is on Kickstarter at the moment. It's like the weirdest name ever. It's just IUNU. I don't know how you're supposed to pronounce it. I don't think even the guy from the publishers, actually Ludi Creations, actually knew how to pronounce it either. But
probably pronounced Shuni or something like that. Just
it's probably pronounced Jeff, to be perfectly honest. It's like it's going to be some bizarre thing that no one knows. But that was a neat little card game. another one, a Diesel Demolition Derby. It was like a titchy little thing. I thought, oh, great, this is going to be some unheard game. No one's going to care. Very cool little 30-minute drafting beat 'em up game. I thought, pretty sweet.
Cool.
I think the only thing that probably didn't wow me too much was probably the Batman miniatures game. That was probably my weak link for everything. And that's not to say it was bad, but my god, when you've heard of something basically reskinned, this is not so much a reskin of Conan. This is literally all they did was cross out the word Conan and write in Batman in felt tip. It literally is the same game. And they've admitted it themselves. I mean, they know it's like that. And it'll sell because it's Batman and it's got some miniatures.
I know, but Conan got a bit of bad press for the length. And I've said this before in previous episodes, for the length of time it took them to get Conan in their hands. Which is one of these things that got flipped incredibly quickly when people started to get their copies, because they'd just been waiting so long. They went, nah, I've no interest in playing this kind of game. So, yeah, I kind of think reskinning something and putting it out there as a newer game, I'm not sure. I don't know. It's kind of like, do you know what it's like? It's like reskinning Love Letter and putting Batman on it and saying, look, there you go, that's the theme, which they have done. There is a Batman
many times,
but reskinning an entire miniatures game and there's got to be something extra there, because otherwise people will sit there and say, well, I'm just playing with different miniatures, but I'm just playing the Conan rules. So
yeah, I mean, I don't mind the I didn't mind the miniatures one Conan generally. I thought, okay, this is alright.
Yeah.
But the problem with it is that, like I say, it's just a reskin, and the original one had such a god-awful rulebook that, they had to reprint it online in order to say, oh yeah, this is this is how it is. But if they better make certain that the rulebook is good, because otherwise it's going to be a pain. But the problems I have with Conan are then repeated in this one, because it hasn't changed. And one of my biggest gripes with it is there's just not enough time in the rounds to get the objectives done. It's not to say that the missions are impossible, but my god, you have to focus entirely on the objectives, because you cannot afford to deviate and do your own thing, because if you deviate even slightly, or if the dice just don't go your way, you've lost. The scenario we had was a diffuse C4 or something in a subway station. Okay, cool theme, cool setting, and you get to fight Bane and stuff like that.
Oh, cool.
But we were doing quite well. I thought, well, jumped straight in, got it. The opponent, the Overlord, had some bad die rolls that helped, but we still lost out because of time. And it was mainly because when I had to do a dice roll, it just came up short. But this is when the Overlord was rolling badly, and I just thought, well, if he just literally armed one extra bomb or something, it would have been physically impossible to do the mission.
Yeah.
They really do need to up the time length of those games so that you can actually have fun with it. But yeah, that was just a sort of weak link. I had fun. It was fun doing the Batman theme, but I thought, yep, you've just reskinned Conan. It's like I was expecting something a bit different.
Cool. So, what's next for yourself? I mean, I've seen you mention is it Zatu? You started doing some writing a bit of writing for Zatu now. You're obviously continuing the podcast. You're getting there with the videos, as you say, every week.
Oh, I feel like I owe everyone a massive apology for that.
Now's your time. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I know you're one of them though. You've already taunted me with it.
No, I was a kind of a gentle kind of reminder that it is almost like a part section of the show.
Yeah, it's like updates on my video now, because it's just been so hard to balance it with the full-time job, especially when I've had to get the equipment and that. It's like, oh, I need this bit. Nope, I need that bit now. Right, get that delivered. Right, save up some money. It's like, oh, absolute massive learning curve, which wasn't so much a curve, more like a vertical cliff. But like I say, I literally have recorded my first promo video. All I got to do is just get some music and animation for the intros, edit it together, and fine.
Done.
It's not perfect.
Done.
People have just told me recently, it's if you've got half decent quality, that's fine. Don't try to make it movie quality.
No.
Just get something out there and you can improve as you go along. And it probably will, because I've watched over the footage and it's like, that actually didn't turn out too bad. However, focus here and stuff like that. And it's like, right, okay, I'll just improve on it. But at least it's content.
Yeah.
And so, literally, I know it's like a broken record by this point, but, the fact that I've actually got footage recorded and being edited is like, yeah, it's coming. This month, it will start and it will carry on and it will be fine.
And I was more hoping for you to talk about Zatu and not just the fine. It's like, the video thing we completely understand. But Zatu, you've started writing some reviews for them, if I'm correct. That's on, is it board-games.co.uk, I think?
Yeah, it's a weird website name because you'd think it would just be zatu.co.uk, but essentially what I've done because of the written reviews is that I've just done them on my sites, but I know that there's other places where you can put articles up as well and you can mingle with some other people. And I've done a few guest reviews for Games Quest in the past.
Yeah.
So every now and again that's happened. I've also do like a monthly guest review for Chaos Cards, for a specific game.
No. We've had Tracy on from Chaos Cards a little while ago.
Yeah, lovely lady. So she, she's been I've been in contact with her and said, anything you'd like me to put a review out for or something, if you can just reference it in the newsletter or something, and it's like, cool. That's working well. In fact, I've got to do the first Exit game, the Secret Lab or whatever, because I haven't played those yet.
Yeah.
So I got to do that for her very soon. Looking
cool.
quite forward to those. And Zatu is the most recent one where I'd not even heard of the website before, which is kind of weird because most of the retailers and that out there I've kind of come across. But for some reason, Zatu just hasn't appeared in searches, maybe because it doesn't call its website zatu.co.uk.
Yeah.
Maybe that doesn't help, but
yeah.
I'm not an SEO expert. But they approached me and said, like, do you want to do stuff for us? And I think I'd also come across the website and they'd said, we're looking for other people. I was like, okay, why not? I'll, put some details through. And very recently, we've contacted and I've written some stuff. I mean, not a lot of it has been published yet. Some of it's been, they put up articles saying we want a 300-word review on your favorite worker placement game or something like that.
Yeah.
And they're on there, and we've got a platform to put our stuff up, but they just haven't been published. But the first one I did was, he said, well, why don't you talk about your most favorite game? And it's like, oh yeah, I haven't actually reviewed Sentinels in the Multiverse yet, so you know what, I better actually do it. And I bang on about it so much, yet I never did a full review, so that was a perfect opportunity.
Yeah.
And I've just done, I've given them another one recently, and, I'll do more stuff in it. They basically have a list of games that you can just sort of go, oh yeah, I'll do one for that. They don't provide you with a review copy, but, it's a case of, well, you want some publicity out there, or you just want to mingle with some other reviewers because we're quite chatty, then great. It's you got to get your name out there when you're if you're going to blog about anything, you need to get your name out there. You need to start engaging with the public.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're in a cave by yourself and no one will hear of you.
Yeah. So, were you actually obviously sitting in your man cave at the moment, surrounded by Kallax units, other shelving units are available?
It's in the other room, but yeah. This is more I'm not even sure I would call it a cave. It's probably the most brightest room in the house, but it's literally just my PC. Literally, I'll spin around in my chair. What have I got? Let's see. I've got PC and desk. Some cardboard boxes from review copies I've got, so I can post games out. A different type of shelf, but only for my accounting records and various things like a laminator and my recipe cookbooks. And that's pretty much all that's in this room. Oh yeah, and some microphone equipment. It's more of a dumping ground than anything else.
So from there, if people have listened tonight and kind of want to, read some of your stuff, listen to some of your stuff, where can they find you?
There's several avenues you can do. First of all, the actual website itself is brokenmeeple.blogspot.co.uk. It's a blogger platform. That is where you'll find pretty much the details on me, including the reviews. You can also subscribe to the podcast via there and see my Twitter feed sort of going on. I'm on Twitter at the Broken Meeple, Facebook as well. Search for the same name.
Mm-hmm.
The podcast is hosted on SoundCloud, but if you just search for The Broken Meeple on a typical... I use Podcast Addict as my thing, but I believe you can find it on iTunes and that as well. Just search for Broken Meeple. You'll be able to subscribe to that feed. The YouTube has got my old videos on there. I just left the channel dormant for a while, but soon that's going to start populating with more videos, so I'll be using the same Broken Meeple channel for that.
Cool.
And finally, there's a Patreon campaign as well, again, under the Broken Meeple, which is, barely started. It's in its early days, but it's basically, I want to improve this over time, but equipment and courses and training cost money, therefore anything that can help is there. So pretty much, if you just search for The Broken Meeple on most social media platforms or Patreon, you will find something to do with me.
Absolutely. But we will make sure that all of those links will be in the show notes, so we have notes to show, as we always say. Look, this has been a lot of fun. It's always good to chat with somebody who's far more professional and better at you at doing something, because now I can go away and cry.
You really have a low opinion of yourself, man. I am no professional.
I don't.
I mean, I've just been saying for the past hour that I, literally do this myself on the fly, unscripted. That's not professional.
But, maybe we can both make each other feel better, which is always good. But no, listen,
have some iron brew. Other fizzy drinks are available.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Exactly. Thank you. Terms and conditions available on request. Listen, thank you very, very much for coming on. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, same here, Rich.
It has been a lot of fun. If you want to keep an eye on what we're doing, so obviously stick with us. Obviously have a look at Luke's stuff, because it is a lot of fun and a lot of it's very, very entertaining. He does a lot of top 10s. He does the top 10s of stuff he likes. He does various genre stuff that he likes, the top 10s. He does his topics, like the scalping, the top 10 annoying game players, which is you should listen to, because it's a lot. It's really quite funny, including the one that we can add on tonight as well. But if you want to check on what we're up to, we are on the internet webs as well, so you can find us if you search for We're Not Wizards. So we've got our Twitter, which is We're Not Wizards. We've got our Facebook, which is We're Not Wizards. We have got our Instagram, which is We're Not Wizards. If you search for us on Apple Podcasts and search for We're Not Wizards, you'll find us there as well. If you like what you've heard tonight, then please like and subscribe and drop us a quick review. If you're dropping us a review, as we always say, don't give us a 10, because that'll make us feel big-headed. But don't give us a 1, because that'll make us cry. Give us somewhere in the middle, like a 5, because that's average.
Well, aim higher.
And we are decidedly average.
Minimum 7.
Minimum of 7 on an iTunes review. And we're also on YouTube as well. If you search for We're Not Wizards Tabletop podcast, Podbean, that we use for hosting our little podcast, they automatically seem to be putting up some of our episodes. They seem to be quite selective on putting some of our episodes up on YouTube automatically, which means I've got to kind of process the rest of the stuff, which takes a long time. But there are now only 2 more things to do. The first thing, as always, is to remember that we are many things, but we're not wizards. Are we wizards, Luke?
Well, nah, I'm no wizard.
That's fantastic. Yes, we are content creators, putting our voices out there and rolling our dice at the same time.
Just remember, it's only a game, people.
Remember, that's fantastic. And the second thing, before that, again, just thank you very, very much for coming on, Luke. It's much appreciated. And the other thing is to say goodbye. So it is a goodbye from the fantastic, the wonderful Mr. Luke Hector from the Broken Meeple.
So that you're really bigging me up way more than I deserve. I can say.
Well, there you go. Do you know what I mean?
But no, it's been great being on there. It's been a great laugh. Honestly,
good stuff. And it's a goodbye from me. Remember, stay safe. Roll 6s. Support the little guys out there that are providing you with your content, whether they be wonderful and non-wizardy like us, or whether they be meeply and broken like Luke.
Meeply and broken. You did not script that in advance, I know that.
I didn't know. I just made that up just now. Well, I can't get any worse than the title that I did for the show, so I might as well finish the same way we started, with a rubbish ending. But until the next time, you lovely people, goodbye.
Goodbye. Take care, everyone.